Hey guys, it's Erin. Happily we go here with another Strumpet Stencils project. So I have my little wooden clipboard here I got like super cheap at Walmart. And then here's some watercolor paper. It is 140-pound watercolor paper, and I have cut it to 5.5 by 7.5. So that way we can trim it down. And now I just have some painter's tape here, and I'm kind of eyeballing a little frame, a border around the watercolor paper, and this will hold it onto the clipboard. And then push it down really good so that way you get a good seal. Now you can see I have a little bit of a border there. I eyeballed it, but if you wanted to whip out the ruler, you totally could do that. Next we have a plate. This is an old microwave plate I have to use for my watercolors, and then some makeup sponges, some little wedges, super cheap from the dollar store or Walmart. Now I have my watercolor paints. Ah, look at all those fun colors. And now we're going to slap some paint down onto our plate. You could use any plate, you could use a watercolor palette, whatever you wanted. This is just easier for me for blending and whatnot. So that's about the consistency we want. You don't need a lot of paint. You'd be surprised at how far this paint will go. Now grab your stencil and then just put the paint onto the makeup sponge and just push it gently through the stencil. You could tape the stencil down if you wanted to, but I'm not going to be super particular today. I just want to show you this super cool technique and how easy it is. Then lift up gently and look at that. Isn't that neat? You don't have any bleed through. The trick is to make sure that you dry in between each layer. So now we're going to go on with a different color here and another stencil. Every stencil I'm using today is from Strumpet Stencils, and I will put on the screen every single stencil that I use, so that way if you were like, oh my gosh, I have to have that one, you can write it down and then pop on over to Sarah's shop and pick it up. I am loving these doily stencils. They are fantastic. So now again, I'm using the same makeup sponge. I did not change it out. If you don't want any color blending, especially when you get from a darker color and maybe go to a lighter one, you may want to change out your sponge. Now we're going to do some green here. And I think I'm just going to let the music play, and you can kind of watch, and I'll pop in if there's anything that I think I need to tell you. So enjoy. I went ahead and wiped off my plate just because I was going to use a lighter color, and I'm popping in to tell you that you can use stencils in way different ways. Now this is a super cool skull stencil. I think it's really awesome, but it doesn't necessarily go with the theme that I wanted to go with today. But if you see, it has all these really cool designs within the eyes and in between each skull, and I thought, what if I turned it sideways and then used those just to add a little bit of color to the background and give it a little extra texture in the layers. So that's what I'm doing here. to use a newer watercolor. I love this. It is graphite. It's like liquid graphite. Anyways, I'm going to add that along the edges to create a little bit of a border. And it's going to be very muted, but kind of grunges it a little bit. Not a lot, but like a muted watercolor grunge, if you can believe that. And I'm not being really careful either. I'm just adding it towards the edges, maybe a little bit more in some places, less in others, and I'm going all the way around the entire frame. And then I'm going to grab a makeup sponge, and this is a clean one, and I'm going to blend out the watercolor that I just put on, the border. As you can see, I'm kind of pushing it in. I don't want a harsh line, so I'm pulling up a little bit of the extra watercolor and I'm pushing it into the sides. I'm a little off screen here, I apologize, but I'm going to flip it up and then you can kind of see down in the bottom corner here what I'm talking about as I push it in and up, so that way it kind of almost, it's like smudging it, I guess you could call it. And then just kind of pull it around until you're done. See what I mean in those corners? It kind of mutes it a little bit and makes it really pretty. So now here's another stencil, and seeing as we just used the graphite on the outside, I thought, why not pull in the pencil? The pencil's underrated. So I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to trace around a couple of these little eyeball flowers with the thorns on them. And I wanted one extra little eyeball flower at the top, so I'm just kind of messing around with my stencil and flipping it over until I find one that will work. As of late, I have a serious obsession with charcoal. So this is a fine willow charcoal. It's a vine charcoal, and I've went ahead and sharpened it. I've just used a little bit of sandpaper and ran it across that until it kind of gave me a point, so it's a little bit easier to draw with. I'm going around the flower a little haphazardly. I'm not being super duper careful, but just to give enough of the charcoal there so that way when I break out my smudger stick, like right here, I can smudge it all out. This I thought would be great because we had that graphite around the outside, sort of the grayer color, and we're going to bring that gray into our piece a little bit more. I just have a basic flat paintbrush, and I'm just brushing off the excess charcoal, and it's okay if it smudges because I'm kind of digging that look, but this just sort of mutes the flowers a little bit. Now I have a beautiful fountain pen, and I'm just going to get a little sketching around the flowers. Penciled out my sentiment, and I'm just going to go over it with my fountain pen. I picked up the smudger and just ran it through some of the charcoal that was on the side of my desk there, and I'm just kind of running over the letters to sort of give them a little bit of a shadowing. And then I decided to get a little creative. This is where, you know, when you have those moments where you're like, I should just stop. No, I'll just keep going and see what happens. Well, yeah. Oh, well. And then, you know, I'm rolling with it, so I thought, let's add some gold shimmer paint. Well, that was just a big hot mess because my fountain pen ink was not waterproof, and so it smudged all over, and then the paint kept adding like blobs of paint coming out of the pen, and it was just a big old hot mess. So I ended up changing it in the end. You'll see in the picture, but for now we'll just finish up with the video, and we're gonna go ahead and peel off the tape. The best way to peel off the tape is to pull away from you carefully and gently, and that way you won't rip the paper. I've never had any problems with the paper ripping with this blue tape, but that's just me. So, and then you peel it off and look at, you have this gorgeous border that's white. Ta-da! And it's done. So as you can see in this last picture, I decided to change it with a sketchy red pen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to check out Sarah's shop, strumpetstencils.com, and until next time, happy creating.